The hospital room was still, save for the steady hum of machines and the faint hiss of oxygen. A mother sat by her 6-month-old son, brushing her fingers tenderly across his tiny hand. His name was Oliver, a beautiful boy born with a cruel condition that had left him paralyzed from the neck down. Doctors had told her not to hope. They said he would never crawl, never walk, never even move more than his fragile chest rising and falling. But a mother's heart never stops believing. Sophia Carter held on to faith even as sleepless nights and mounting bills tried to steal it away. Her husband worked late shifts to keep them afloat, leaving her to face the silence alone. Every night she prayed for a miracle, just the smallest twitch, the tiniest proof that her boy's spirit was stronger than the diagnosis, written in cold ink. What she never expected was that hope would come on 4 paws, wrapped in golden fur, with eyes that saw what no doctor could. Subscribe to Shepherd Legacy for more true stories of courage and devotion. Tell us in the comments, which city are you watching from today? The Carter household had grown used to silence. Not the comfortable kind, but a silence that pressed down like a heavy blanket, the silence of what should have been laughter cries. And tiny footsteps filling the halls. Sophia Carter sat beside her son's crib in the dim light of the nursery. The soft glow of a night lamp cast long shadows across the room, painting her face with exhaustion. Her 6-month-old boy, Oliver, lay nestled in his blankets, his chest rising and falling steadily, but the rest of his body remained heartbreakingly still. Born with a severe paralysis, Oliver had never reached for her fingers, never kicked his legs, never even turned his head toward the sound of her voice. Doctors had delivered their verdict without mercy. He will never move on his own. You should prepare yourself, they told her. Those words had cut deeper than any wound. Replaying in her mind every night, her husband, Daniel, worked double shifts to keep their home and the medical bills afloat. He carried the burden quietly, shoulders heavy with unspoken fear. But when the door closed behind him each evening, Sophia was left alone with Oliver's stillness. She prayed endlessly, whispering promises to God, begging for the smallest sign of hope. Outside the crib, life carried on in unexpected ways. A small golden-furred puppy named Max had joined their family only weeks earlier, a rescue Sophia thought might one day become Oliver's companion. Max was lively, playful, and filled with mischief, yet something in his soulful brown eyes seemed older, wiser. From the moment he first padded into Oliver's nursery, the pup had shown an uncanny devotion, curling beside the crib and refusing to sleep anywhere else. That night, as the wind rattled against the window, Sophia stroked her son's tiny hand. "You're stronger than they know," she whispered through tears. Oliver's chest rose gently, but his tiny fingers gave no response. Her heart ached as if she were losing him piece by piece. Max lifted his head from the nursery floor, ears twitching. He padded closer, pressing his warm body against the side of the crib. His gaze never wavered from the fragile boy above. Sophia managed a weak smile. "At least you believe in him too," she said softly, brushing a tear away. The silence stretched on, broken only by the sound of Oliver's breathing. Then, for the first time that night, Max climbed onto the blanket at the foot of the crib. He lay down carefully, his head resting near Oliver's unmoving legs, his little tail curling protectively around the child. Sophia's chest tightened. Something about the way the puppy nestled close filled her with a strange, fragile hope. As she drifted into uneasy sleep in the rocking chair, she whispered, "Maybe you'll be the miracle he needs." Neither of them knew it yet. But the miracle had already begun, and it was sleeping right at Oliver's feet. The next morning broke with pale winter light spilling through the nursery curtains. Sophia stirred awake in the rocking chair, stiff from the night. She glanced toward Oliver's crib. Her boy lay exactly as before, chest rising and falling, tiny lips parted in quiet sleep. The sight carved at her heart like it always did, but something was different. Max, The golden-furred puppy was already awake. He wasn't dozing like usual, nor chasing after his own tail. He stood at the crib, nose pressed against the blankets. His ears perked sharply as though he had heard something Sophia hadn't. His eyes locked on Oliver's legs, and he whimpered softly. "Max?" Sophia rubbed her tired eyes. "What is it, boy?" The pup ignored her, nudging at Oliver's tiny toes with his nose, then pulling back, tail wagging as if waiting for a response. Sophia's chest tightened. Of course there was none. Her son had never moved, not once in 6 months, she sighed. "You don't understand, sweetheart." "He can't." But before she finished, Max pawed at the blanket, then barked, a sharp, insistent sound that made her flinch. He wasn't playing. He was trying to tell her something. Sophia leaned closer to the crib, her hands trembling. Oliver's face remained serene, his tiny hands still. But Max refused to stop. He circled, barked again, and pressed himself against Oliver's legs, whimpering. His entire little body quivered with urgency. Sophia reached out and placed her palm gently on Oliver's foot. Her breath caught in her throat. Was it her imagination? Or had she felt the faintest twitch beneath the skin? "No," she whispered to herself. "The doctor said he couldn't." Her mind raced between disbelief and desperate hope. She pressed her hand again, firmer this time. Nothing. The silence mocked her. Her heart cracked at the thought that maybe exhaustion had fooled her. But Max was not fooled. The puppy growled softly, then licked Oliver's tiny toes as if urging them to move. He wagged his tail furiously, eyes bright with stubborn faith. Sophia covered her mouth with her hand. "Max, do you see something I can't?" The puppy lay down beside the crib again, his body curled protectively, his eyes never leaving Oliver. He seemed to know a secret no human could yet understand. That evening, when Daniel returned from work, Sophia told him what had happened. He shook his head gently, kissing her temple. "Soph, I want to believe too. But don't let your heart break worse than it already has." Still that night, Sophia watched with new eyes. Max crept into the crib once more, laying carefully against Oliver's still form. His tail thumped with quiet determination. And just before Sophia drifted into restless sleep, she thought she saw it again, the smallest flicker of movement in Oliver's tiny toes. Almost like they were trying to answer the puppy's touch. She sat upright, her pulse racing. Had it been real? Or just a trick of tired eyes? Max lifted his head, meeting her gaze. His look said everything. Believe. He's fighting. 2 weeks passed, and Sophia barely slept. She watched her son endlessly, waiting, hoping, praying that the flicker she thought she saw wasn't just her imagination. But every night, Max gave her reason to hold on. The golden puppy grew bolder. He no longer simply lay beside Oliver. He nudged him, licked his fingers, pawed gently at his legs. And every time, his tail wagged as though he were cheering for something only he could sense. One evening, the storm outside mirrored the storm in Sophia's heart. Thunder rattled the windows, and rain streaked down the glass. She sat in the rocking chair, her face buried in her hands. Daniel was working late again, and Oliver lay in his crib, motionless as always. "Maybe I'm a fool," she whispered. "Maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see." A sharp bark made her head snap up. Max stood at the crib, his whole body trembling with excitement. His gaze was fixed on Oliver's legs, and his ears twitched as if waiting for something. Sophia rushed forward, her hands clutching the crib's edge. And then, it happened. Oliver's tiny toes curled. Just once. Small but undeniable. Sophia gasped, her heart leaping to her throat. Tears blurred her vision as she grabbed his hand. "Oliver, baby, do it again, please." Max barked again, wagging his tail so hard his body wiggled. And this time, Oliver's foot shifted more clearly, a slow, shaky stretch that should have been impossible. The room seemed to stop. The storm outside raged, But all Sophia could hear was her son's first movement and the rapid thump of her puppy's tail against the crib. Her sobs filled the nursery. "You did it, sweetheart. You moved." She pressed her forehead to Oliver's, crying into his soft skin. "I knew you were still fighting." Daniel burst into the room moments later, soaked from the storm, panic etched across his face. "What happened?" Sophia lifted her tear-streaked face, her voice trembling with joy. "He moved, Daniel. Our baby moved." Daniel's eyes widened as he looked at the crib. Max barked again, almost as if he were announcing the miracle. The puppy leapt onto the blanket beside Oliver, curling protectively as the baby's tiny hand twitched, brushing against his fur. Doctors couldn't explain it. They called it reflex, coincidence, nothing substantial. But Sophia knew the truth, and so did Daniel. And every night after, the little golden-furred puppy never left Oliver's side, pushing him, encouraging him, waiting for the next miracle, because Max had seen what no one else would believe. The spirit of a boy too strong to surrender, and the bond that could pull him into a future the doctors never thought possible. Some miracles come through medicine. Others arrive on four paws, wagging their tails and refusing to give up. And in that quiet nursery, beneath the storm's fading thunder, a mother finally believed her child had a